settled. So just get comfortable for this first part, and then when it's time to do a little practice, I'll give you a moment to redo your space as you need to. Okay. Okay, looks like we're ready to begin. So thank you for joining this afternoon. And while it's on my mind, I'd also like to thank Erin for inviting me to be a part of this. It's really too bad that I didn't get to meet you all in person, but delightful to know that you are here with me and that you're committing yourselves to this work is super important right now. And that is one thing that I'll be talking about, just the level of commitment that we need to make right now at this time in the world, at this time in our lives. So, you know, there's a number of things that I wanted to talk about. The focus of my talk is around digesting and assimilating this craziness that we have in the world right now, and how do we make sense of it? How do we somehow take it in a way that doesn't pull us apart, that doesn't disrupt our own inner equanimity? And on the drive over here, I remembered this image from a lecture that my teacher's teacher, Pandit Rajmani Chigunayat, gave a lecture a couple years ago that I was at, and this point that he made was so powerful. It really stuck with me. So I wanted to share this with you. He was talking about an event horizon. Now, specifically, he used the idea of a pen. See, if I had a pen, I could use this water bottle, say a water bottle going into a black hole, right? I guess it would be kind of like this. It would get up to the edge and then it would be sucked into the hole, right? Black holes, we know, exist in the universe. And what he was talking about is that as the water bottle now approaches the black hole, it starts to get sucked in to this vortex of power. And the water bottle, the first part of it gets pulled faster than the end of it. And what that results in is the very middle of the water bottle then getting pulled apart. And we have this disintegration. So it's, you know, this is the process. If you were to slow it down, that would be the process. Wait, I still need my prop. So when we do spiritual practice, when we do our sitting and our meditation and our getting the mind quiet, and specifically the kind of practice that I'm doing today is very helpful towards this, what we end up doing is we turn the water bottle this way. So as it enters the black hole, it all enters together. What I mean by that is we don't get pulled in from one end with the other half of us wishing we were still back over here somewhere. But we're able to transition, stay connected to ourselves, collected into ourselves, and we enter from one reality into another reality. And therefore, we have our whole selves to access. We have our full capacity as we enter this new reality and have to deal with it. So this is an event horizon, and obviously the coronavirus is an event horizon in our lives. And so I want to talk just a little bit about how that is impacting us right now. Just let me say that the virus is not a problem that has just appeared. The virus is a manifestation of a problem that has been present for quite some time in our culture. The problem that has been present is, we could reduce it to our fear, our anxiety, our anger, that leads us to shut people out, that leads us to separate ourselves from other communities, that leads us to make decisions as if the planet doesn't matter, as if other cultures don't matter, as if our neighbors don't matter, right? So that's the problem that has led to the virus. And there is a teaching in the spiritual tradition, in the yoga tradition, that everything that is inside of us is also outside of us. And everything that is outside of us is also inside of us. Microcosm, macrocosm. That's the way nature works. And so if we look at that, we can see that the virus is literally cutting us off from our life force. It is cutting us off from the air that we breathe, which carries prana, the life force. And so what that means is that there is something inside of us that is cutting us off from our life force. And this is something we need to recognize. This is our spiritual practice is going to be helpful for us to understand what that is, what that symptom is within us, what part of us is cutting us off from our own source of nourishment. Another thing we see is that the virus is causing us to disconnect from the people that we love. It is forcing us to separate ourselves. And so then if we look inward, then we can ask, what is within me that is causing me to separate from the most beloved thing within me, which is my essential self? And truly, I think if you look around the world, you can see that people are living their lives out in a surface way out in the world, and they're not finding time, and I'm speaking generally now, to connect inwardly. Yeah. And I know all of you are, or you wouldn't be here. And yet, we also have to recognize that on some level, the problem is within all of us. We need to examine more deeply and see what aspect of our being, of our essential self, are we fearful to bring forward. Okay. The virus is forcing us to slow down, to press the pause button. And so that is telling us that there's some imbalance in our lives, right? We live in a world, we call it the rat race, where we're on this spinning wheel and we just do and do and do and do and go and go and go and go. And in the middle of winter, when there are fewer hours of daylight, we get up 2 hours before the sun rises and we turn on the light. And we keep the light on until 10 or 11 at night. So we're disconnecting from this natural rhythm. We are disconnected from a natural rhythm of life. We're disconnected from the natural world on many levels. I'm sure you can come up with examples. And one of those levels is this rhythm of our own animal nature, of when to sleep and when to be awake, of when to eat and when to digest. So I'm going to suggest that right now, we all take this pause to digest what it is that's happening around us, right? Yes. And now as we look also at another effect from this virus. Mm-hmm. There's another effect. One moment, let me just pull my hair up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that this, oh, are we having trouble? I was thinking I might take off my sweater at some point, but I'll put it here and move it. I want to make sure everyone can hear me. Is that better? Yay. Okay. So, yeah, I was going to say another thing that has been really evident is that people are clearly coming out of the woodwork now looking for some spiritual way to connect. So before the virus, I was noticing that many of my students, you know, I want to say that there's a hunger. There's definitely a hunger in the population that I see. And those are the ones seeking spiritual guidance. And so I know that behind them, there's a greater hunger in the larger community. And the virus has really brought this out. And so what I want to say about that is that spirituality, there's been a poverty for a long time, a spiritual poverty. And I'm not speaking of religion, in which there are beliefs that are held and that are taught and practices that are prescribed. Rather, I'm talking about connecting to some inner truth. And this idea of spirituality is really not a form of telling somebody what to believe, but rather it is being willing to accept other people's beliefs without judgment and embracing compassion and inclusiveness for all. So just to be clear, just to know that we're on the same page. And so this belief, there's a belief in our current, I'll call it the collective consciousness, that if you are spiritual, then it's not okay to be worldly. And if you are worldly, then it doesn't mesh with being spiritual. So we have created this wall, this divide between the two. And our world is suffering from a lack of spirituality, and our spirituality is suffering from a lack of connection to the world. So all of this idea of integration, assimilation, it includes all those levels. So wanting to connect our spiritual self to our worldly self is something I'd like to address. Now, there is another teaching that is in the Tantric tradition, which is where my tradition that I'm drawing from. And I will just also say that a little aside here, and that is that the different spiritual traditions, the different lineages, they can integrate so beautifully. And I really appreciate that In-Body Academy is a forum that allows different lineages to integrate. Because truth is truth. The teachings are the teachings, and they will apply no matter what your lineage. And that means that you can benefit from practicing in more than one approach to practice. So I just wanted to give that acknowledgement. So here is the teaching. And that is that, you know, we were just looking at the virus and how the virus reflects that within us we have these deficiencies. So yes, we all have some inner darkness. We all have some deficiency. And it's not just out there. It's not just those people over there. Okay, if I think that the problem is those people over there, well, that right there is an indication of the virus, which is separating us. So we have to embrace this idea that we all have inner darkness. The teaching, however, which I find so beautiful, is that we have everything within us that we need to digest and assimilate our inner darkness. We have the power, the capacity to digest our inner darkness. What does that even mean? Well, first of all, I just think that's an amazing and hopeful statement, because if you continue with that thought of microcosm, macrocosm, what is within me is also outside of me, that implies that as humanity, as a collective group of people, we have what talent, what ingenuity, what brilliance it is going to be required to meet this problem, to face not only the virus, but the socio-political conditions, the economic conditions, the ecological conditions that have all come together to manifest this virus. We can face this. So that's what this teaching is telling us. We have the capacity to face it. Okay, but those goals may seem a little daunting, yeah? They do to me as well. And yet we have what is needed to face those goals in the outside world, but what that will require is that we face those goals in the inner world. And that is also a daunting task, to face our inner darkness, to digest it. This is the inward path. It is not an easy path. Those of you who are meditators know this. It is a path that requires commitment and determination, but it is such a fruitful path. And it allows us to tap into our unrealized potential and grow our inner capacity. This is what I am hoping to inspire in you, not just in a spiritual sense, but also in a worldly sense. And so, in other words, in order to heal the planet, in order to heal our societies, our communities, in order to heal our bodies, we must begin with ourselves, individually and on a collective level. That's a big order. Collective consciousness needs to shift in order for us to move forward. So as we move inward on an individual level, we inspire and facilitate a shift in collective consciousness. And can you feel, can you see that that's what is needed here? Because it's not enough to create a vaccine. If we create the vaccine tomorrow and we are able to deal with this virus, all the conditions that created the virus will still be there. And another thing will come up, and then another. And so really, this is pushing us to have to change everything on the level of consciousness. This means we address those conditions, the anger and the fear that pit us against each other. This is one thing we address, the despair and the anxiety and the overwhelm that separates us from our true self, that separates us from our potential. It paralyzes us from manifesting who we can be, the anxiety. And you know, before the virus, I used to say, people that came into my classes, I would take a poll. 95%, 90% of people would report that they dealt with extreme anxiety. And so this paralyzes us. It really prevents us from being who we can be. And right now we need to live our full potential if we want to participate in reshaping the world. So all of these conditions that we're talking about begins with an inner practice. Now, in this retreat, I know that you've been talking or not talking, but practicing towards this inner journey. And excuse me, this morning, I taught a practice to bring us into a state of deep inner calm, both physically and mentally. And this is only the first step, but it is a huge step. And for many people, this is the step. It's a big, big step. Only from a quiet mind can an inner journey begin. And what happens as we access this quiet mind, we find a sense of beingness that truly is the first step in finding some salvation from the fear, the anger, the anxiety, the depression, the despair. Through practice, more and more we learn to access the inner observer. The inner observer connects us to this eternal aspect of our being. So this is what I mean by the word beingness. It's the observer, the witness, the part of us that never changes. It's that part of you that was the same when you were 7 as it is now. You know, that part of you when somebody says, you know, I haven't seen you in 20 years. Look, you know, you've changed. But there's a part of you that hasn't changed. And that's a part of us that we feel, we carry it with us our whole life. So that observer is timeless. And when we practice meditation, more and more we can experience that that part of us, it's still not changing. You know, over many years of meditating, more and more we sense, oh, that part of me is still there. It's still there. It's still there. And eventually we build this trust that when the body dies, that part of us will not die. And that helps us face our fear. Because truly, when we have fear of a virus, what are we fearful of, right? We're fearful of what we will lose. We're fearful of losing our body, our own life. We're fearful of losing loved ones to death or to some other tragedy. We're fearful of losing our income, of losing our livelihood. And all of these fears can be reduced down to the fear of death. So this practice of connecting to beingness is huge because it is the essential first step in learning to become less driven by fear. Okay, so as we understand more and more, there is a part of us that is not affected by the virus, that is free from death, that is free even from suffering, then we will be able to face what we have to face in the world today, right? Any practice that moves you inwardly will serve you. I gave one practice this morning. Erin, I know, teaches in a different style. Any of those practices that help you connect inwardly and find an inner quiet and inner peace will serve you in this way. So once you connect inwardly, then, what is the next step? This is what I'd like to talk about. So there are a couple of things we can look at as a next step, particularly today, now in the world today, something that comes up again and again from all of my teachers, and I would like to pass this on to you that feels super important, is we need to reshape our prana. What do I mean by that? It means we need to attend to our breath. We need to recognize that we are living in a world that is chronically in fight or flight mode. And we don't even see it anymore. We think we're relaxed And even when we think we're relaxed, we still are breathing up in our chests instead of down in the belly, instead of using the diaphragm. The breath ratio that we have today is much faster than it was even 40 years ago. People took longer, slower breaths 40 years ago than they do today. And understand that how we breathe is a perfect mirror of our state of mind. And how we breathe is driven by the state of our prana. Now, let me give you this image. Okay. There's this beautiful image you've seen in the yin and the yang symbol of the two fish chasing each other's tail. So I'm going to say that one of those fish is the mind, and one of those fish is the prana, the life force. The mind leads the life force in our culture. For the most part, the mind is in charge. The mind is telling the life force what to do. The mind is telling us, come on, get more done, produce more, work faster, no time for the rest. And we have pushed ourselves to the brink of exhaustion. And that has created this mindset, this anxiety that is just really this vibration in the culture. That's our set point. And so the teaching in the tantric tradition is that the mind follows the prana and the prana follows the mind, meaning they can affect each other. And there are techniques we can use to work with prana to change the mind, to, in other words, put the prana fish as the leader instead of the mind. And it's very simple. When you work with your breath, you're working with your life force, right? So the breath is really the perfect mirror of not just the mind, but the life force. So when you are fearful for your life, you grasp in the breath. And when you're really relaxed and you get into a hot tub after a long day, right? You express the life force with a long exhale. So the yogis noticed that, and they therefore discovered that if you shape the breath deliberately and mindfully, you can shape how the mind is experiencing the world and literally change the mind's experience, the mind's energetic set point. You can move yourself from sympathetic nervous system fight or flight into parasympathetic nervous system rest and digest, simply by changing your breath. And this is what my teachers are saying. Yoga Rupa Rod Stryker is saying 3 times a day, pause and just take some long, deep breaths. Close your eyes, get quiet, and just make the exhale even with the inhale. Listen to the sound of the breath, let it soothe you. And just let the mind ride the wave of breath like a current riding in a canoe on the river. Yeah. Panditji talks about specific techniques that are super helpful and can be very simple to create this mental balance, to help bring us back into this balance where we've been pulled apart. Remember that event horizon? We've got one part of us hurrying up to go into that hole. Hurry, 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 let's move into the future. And the other part of us saying, wait, let's stay back here where it's really comfortable. I want to smell the roses. We're being pulled apart. And so some very beautiful, simple breath practices, and I'll share one today that maybe a lot of you know, but in its simplest form can be so powerful to bring us into a balance between the left brain and the right brain, between the doing and the being, and bring us towards this center. Now, I want to make another comment about this rat race that I've talked about and the nervous system. So we're chronically in the sympathetic nervous system, right? Fight or flight. And, you know, not only has our nervous system been compromised for quite some time, but I want us all to just acknowledge that our nervous system they're pretty weak compared to what they could be. We do not have a lot of stamina or resilience in our nervous system. It doesn't take much to set us on edge. And so with breath practices, we can cultivate and strengthen our nervous system. By practicing with the breath, we strengthen the whole nervous system. The nervous system feeds our lungs and our heart and all of our organs and our brain. So honestly, this is huge to recognize that it's great to sit and meditate, but if you can add a breathing practice that you resonate with, that resonates with you, that feels helpful, it will really help support you in this time where our nervous system is under such attack. And the symptoms of that are not just the anxiety, but even just in the breath itself, shallow, dysfunctional breathing, which affects all the organs, including the brain. And it leads to a kind of a mental dullness. Maybe you've experienced that. Can lead to inertia, a lack of vigor. And, you know, just think of how it feels to walk outside and take a deep breath after sitting in a room in front of a computer, just sitting and not taking deep breaths. So you see, we've adapted to that pattern. Okay, so now is the time. If you've ever thought about doing pranayama and you haven't started it, now is the time to begin. And it doesn't have to be a formal pranayama, it can be quite simple. I'll make one more little comment about breath, little cheerleader here. And that is that use your breathing, and I know Erin does this, to bring you into present moment awareness. And recognizing that when we are anxious or fearful or distressed, our mind is pulled into the past or pulled into the future. We're worried about the future, or we're perseverating, we're festering over the past. And again, that's that image of the event horizon. We're being pulled apart. Future, past, future, past, future, past. And when you use the breath, really awareness of breath can only happen in the present moment. So simply by watching a long, smooth breath, you come into present moment. And that's where the healing is. That's where the healing is. And that's where the healing is. Okay. Brings us into our ground base. If you do some formal pranayama, it's very helpful to include some form of alternate nostril breathing. So that's what I will encourage. And just because when you breathe in one nostril, it activates the opposite brain. When you breathe out one nostril, it relaxes the opposite brain. Then you breathe in that nostril, it activates. Then you breathe out and it relaxes. And it creates this alternating pattern of stimulate and relax of the different parts of the mind. And that is so beautiful. And it's really helpful right now. Okay, and then the next part that I want to talk about. So step one is to deal with reshaping your prana by working with the breath. Step two is to, and this is to be a little more proactive now, And again, I'll say this is once you've connected inwardly and you feel like you can access that inner calm, then we connect into the navel center. And this is specifically from the tantric lineage. The lineage that I'm involved with is the lineage of the Himalayan masters. And in our teaching, then, the navel center is really the home to the unconscious, as well as the fire of transformation. And when I say the fire of transformation, that refers to building a fire that allows you to digest your experience and turn it into wisdom. Exactly as if the life experience you've had to this point is a log, and you put that log on the fire, and because it's solid, it's a solid, dense mass, we call it unconscious, because the unconscious is dense and unconscious, and a log is unconscious, right? But then when you put it in the fire, it gets turned into light. So that light is the light of wisdom. It is the warmth of capacity. It is the radiance of love and compassion. That light is the essence of consciousness. And so that fire that is within us is in the navel. Now, outside of us, that is the sun, the fire of the sun, and all of its derivative forms on our planet, such as lightning or fire or moonlight or starlight. All of those are derivations of the sun. So this fire in the navel then is able to dissolve our ignorance. Isn't that amazing, right? So when we do practices, and we'll do just a couple very simple practices this afternoon that help us focus our energy in the navel to build a power. And those, the power that we build in the navel is a particular power of positivity, of higher self-esteem, this I can do attitude of, yeah, I can do this, right? And it's a power that allows us to overcome our own inertia. And while we overcome it, you see that process of overcome it is part of burning that log, because in the process of overcoming our inertia, we begin to learn and we begin to understand why we needed to burn that log in the first place. And that's where the wisdom comes in. So I'll just mention there's a lot of inertia in the world today. Think of all the people out there who are invested in keeping the world exactly like it was, who want to just turn things around and go back to exactly what we had. A lot of people are invested in that. And, you know, newsflash for you, the world will never be the way that it was. We can't go back. It is fundamentally already moved forward to a new reality, and it is up to us to shape that. So I'll just point out that within each of us, remember microcosm, macrocosm, there is some inertia, there is resistance to us building our own inner fire and becoming brighter and really claiming our own role in making the world a brighter place, reshaping the world in the image that we want. We will all face some inertia. So that's what these practices are really addressing, is if and when you feel called to really face your own inner inertia and burn it and digest it and create some wisdom and brightness out of it, and in the process contribute to reshaping the landscape of our world, yeah, then focusing at the navel is what is prescribed in our lineage. And that's how we step into the unknown territory that is beckoning us. Okay. So this navel center connects us to our uniqueness in the most positive way. And oh, I just looked at the clock. I see that we're getting short on time. So maybe it's just time to do a couple simple things that I think will help us. Okay. Now, in terms of asana practice, oh, it's going to be so brief. You know, you honestly, you don't even need a mat. Let's do it that way. So I'll just move my papers and clear my path so that you can see my demo. And we're going to start on all fours with a very simple, between all fours and child's pose. So I don't think you need a mat for that. If you have, you know, a comfortable place to be on all fours. Yeah. I'll just shift this a little bit. Okay. But this is a really beautiful, simple start. Okay. Yep. Let me just take the sweater off so you can see me. So from all fours now, we're just going to move in and out of child's pose. Great. Turn this way so I can look at you better. Okay. So as we inhale, you come forward. And we did this morning if you were with me. Oh, hold on. The dangling participle. Okay. Inhale, come forward. And as you exhale, I want you to lift the pelvic floor as you move back into child's pose. And repeat that. Come forward on the inhale and let your belly soften. And as you exhale, pull the low belly deeply up into the back body. And squeeze the belly towards the spine. Do that again. Notice I'm going slow on the exhale. Take your time and really squeeze like a deep curling fist in the low belly. And as you inhale, come forward, let the belly soften so that we have somewhere to move into. And as you exhale, pelvic floor lifts and the belly deepens and squeezes. And you can bow your head here. And we'll just take it one more time. And from here, let's just take another simple thing. Can you lift up your arms overhead and come to kneeling? And as you exhale, bring your hands to your back, contract the navel, and lower slowly. Now, anything that opens the belly and then compresses the belly, like we're doing, use your exhale here as you round the back, can be very helpful to wake up this area. We'll just take it once more. And now on your inhale, come to your hands, curl your toes, walk your feet forward. We're just coming to standing. And we're going to take this little breathing practice that, you know, could be considered as helpful as brushing your teeth in the morning. So as you inhale, lift your head and tail. And as you exhale now, curl the tailbone and press it firmly into the pelvis and bow the head. And then we add the breath. So inhale, the belly is soft. And now as you exhale, lifting the pubic bone, squeezing the navel powerfully back, like you get punched in the stomach by a 4-year-old. And then releasing the belly and releasing the pelvic floor on the inhale. And as you exhale, you can squeeze the knees into each other slightly to deepen this sense of lifting in the navel. So in this very simple manner, this is called AgniSaara. This is a practice that just helps us activate this navel center. And we're just going to do it a couple more times with a harder, faster exhale. So inhaling to lift and exhale. And then releasing. We can exhale through the mouth and exhale. And then once more. Beautiful. There are deeper versions of that practice, but that's in its most simple form. And now the last little thing we're going to do is come to your back. We're just going to do a little supine twist. Yeah. And so we'll start on your back, bringing your knees to your chest. And then opening your arms to the side. And move your knees away from the body as you inhale, and then exhale, bring your knees to one side. And we'll just take a moment here to bring your hand to the top leg. And as you breathe in and out, just really now deep diaphragmatic breathing. If I had a longer time. Oh, you know what? We have time. I'm going until 7. I was rushing through this practice. I'm so silly. Yeah, that's great. Okay, let's go ahead and stay in your twist. And I'm going to do a few more practices to bring us into the navel center. You see, I'm disconnected from myself because I had to drive here. I'm not used to driving anywhere. So we'll use this little twist here to feel as you inhale, there's a slight unwinding. And as you exhale, there's a slight deepening. And let's take about 5 more breaths here. And deep diaphragmatic breathing means that the breath, the inhale reaches all the way down into the pelvic floor. And as you exhale, squeeze the belly back, feel the belly skin sliding away from the knees towards the sky. And I don't care how far you go with your chest or with your knees. I really want you to tune into your breath here. One more breath. Beautiful. And we'll come back to your spine. And bring your knees to your chest to adjust for a moment. Let's lift your head and tail and then lower it down. And then taking the arms open. So twisting is a beautiful way. We exhale to side 2. I'm a little restricted in my demo because of this battery. There we go. Okay. And so, of course, any twist will do. Yes, if you need to adjust how your legs are, you can bring your hand to the knee. You can put a prop under your knees. I want you to be comfortable in your spine. We'll just take a few deep diaphragmatic breaths here. I think it's so funny that I jumped into practice, demonstrating for you exactly what we were talking about. Let's take 2 more breaths here. By the end of today's practice, I will know what time it is. Okay, and then we come back to our spine. Yes. And then roll to your side and come up to standing. We'll do just some of the things that I left out. And then we'll finish, okay? Let's see. Let me just adjust the angle just a little bit so you can see me. See if that works. Okay. Yeah, you know. There we go. Okay. That's pretty good. Let's come into just a little moment of standing with your feet underneath you. And we'll just take the arms overhead and breathing in. Remember, I said expanding and contracting. So use your inhale to expand the belly. And let's bend the knees and fold over the legs. And then as you stay here, we'll just stretch the hips up as you breathe in and stretch the legs down as you breathe out. And then we'll come all the way up and exhale the hands to the heart. Very simple. Let's repeat it. Repeat that on the breath. Inhale, stretch out of the belly. And as you exhale, squeeze the belly back into the back body. Take an inhale, use your hands on the ground or on a chair or on blocks if you need to. And exhale, drop your hips, drop your head. Inhale all the way up. And exhale, hands to heart. Let's do that again. Inhale, stretching up out of the belly. And now that little fist in the gut as you exhale. Inhale, lift the hips. And exhale, lower the hips. And inhale all the way up. And exhale, arms down, navel moving back. Take it one more round. Inhale. So the whole body breathing now, like you're a sea anemone. You compress into your center on the inhale. Let the body breathe open. And on the exhale, compress into your center. And then all the way up. And exhale, hands into the heart. Nice. Okay. Let's step wide the legs. Do just a couple more standing things. Yeah. Actually, you know what? I'd like to take a little twist this way. So pointing your left foot straight ahead and turning out your right foot behind you and just press into the ground with that back leg. We'll just take the arms overhead. Inhale. And as you exhale, place your left hand on your back. Yeah. And now the palm facing out. And now take a breath in here, bend your front knee, place your hand on the floor. And let's just come up and down a few times. Inhale, reaching open, and exhale, come into the lunge. And touch the ground or a block. And then inhale, open. And feel the navel squeezing here as you fold over the leg. And this last time we're going to stay. Big open to the belly, and now exhale. Just stay. Plant your hand on the ground. And now let's unfold that left arm. Turn your gaze to the sky. Breathe in. And as you exhale, move the bottom shoulder towards that front knee. Just a couple breaths here. Each time you exhale, remember that twist on your back. See if you can spin the navel towards the sky. One more breath. Nice. And then let's adjust in the middle. So can you turn your feet so they're parallel and just take a moment folding over the legs? You can hold your elbows like I'm doing, or you can bring your hands for support on the ground. Yeah. Okay, and then let's come up to standing. We'll take the arms overhead and exhale the hands into the heart. Let's turn the other way. So again, compressing the belly and opening it with a forward fold moving in and out, with a twist moving in and out. Both of these are helpful. As you take your arms overhead, now plug that back leg into the floor. So the front foot is pointing straight ahead and the back foot is turned so the toes are kind of forward of the heel. Here we go. Inhale and just the right hand onto the back as you exhale, palm face back. And now inhale, opening off of the belly. And as you exhale, lunge and touch the floor. And then reach out and come all the way up. And in that lunge, I'd like you to really let your belly come towards your thigh. So the back is supported here. And we'll just take it 2 more times, lunging and touching the ground, and then inhaling up. And last one. Stay in the pose this time. And just really root your hand and both feet into the ground as you inhale. And begin to unwind as you exhale. I should turn around so I can see. Yeah, you can see another angle. And as you open the chest now, notice that the belly is also rolling. You can take the arm to the sky. You can also just keep it where it is on the back. Either one is fine. And just really mold your body into around that breath. So the inhale has an unwinding feeling, and the exhale has a deepening. And remember, you can use a chair for that left arm. You don't have to be on the floor here. Any twist will do. But just feeling that at the very center of the twist, just last breath, the navel is right at the center of a twist. Nice. And this time, let's just step the feet together and just take a couple breaths now, holding your elbows and folding over your legs. Okay. And then come up to standing, very simply. Now, since we have the time, and this is just so juicy, we're going to go ahead and repeat our AgniSaara, and I'm going to invite you to lift the belly on the hold after exhale, if that's comfortable for you. Okay, I'll talk you through it. So this is where we get a little deeper, yeah? So inhale, and as you exhale all the air out, remember to firm the tailbone and compress the belly. Now let's repeat that. Inhale. This time, exhale all the air out, and now hold the breath out. And while you're holding the breath, just see if you can suck the belly up. And then when you need to breathe, let the belly relax. That's all it is. Here we go. Inhale. And exhale all the air out. Powerful contraction. Hold the breath out, suck the belly up. And then release it and breathe in. Now, of course, you would never do this if you've just eaten. So I should have said that at first. So you should wait 2 hours after eating before doing this. I was trusting that it was early enough that maybe you hadn't eaten. So we'll do a couple more rounds. If you have food in your tummy, then in your belly, then just do the first version, yeah? So here we go. Inhale and exhale all the air out. Hold the breath out as you lift. Relax when you need to breathe and take a little pause. You see my elbows are straight, so I'm actually supporting my upper body weight. Let's take it once more. The more forcefully you exhale, the deeper the lift. And you'll feel that softening of the belly is really a softening, a loosening of the unconscious. Yeah, that's what we're doing here. Okay. And so let's do One more little thing on our backs. Yeah. Right. Okay. And let's just bring the knees, the hands on the knees. So here's something we were practicing this morning. It bears repeating today. Very simple. Inhale. And as you exhale, bring the knees in towards the chest. And as you inhale, let the knees flow away. Now, the key to this pose being powerful is that you keep the sitting bones down as an anchor. So that inhale, as you exhale, you're not curling the tailbone off the floor, but you're able to lift the deep, low belly up towards the heart. And then on the inhale, as you relax that deep, low belly, you'll feel the pelvic floor is soft. And as you exhale and squeeze the low belly and feel it lifting towards the heart at the end of the exhale. So that's what I want you to feel. This really deep connection to the breath, an expression of the diaphragm working really beautifully. Take one more round, please. Beautiful. Okay. And now plant your feet on the mat and just pause here for a moment. And I'd like you to feel the breath in the belly. As you breathe in, the belly rises. As you breathe out, the belly falls. Breathe in, the belly rises. Breathe out, the belly falls. And I want you to really direct the breath into the belly so that it's not up in the chest. A couple more rounds like that. Coming into diaphragmatic breathing. Beautiful. Now, I know I told you you didn't need a mat, but that was when I thought we had a 5-minute practice. I would like to do one little thing on the belly. You'll have your arms supporting the head. So hopefully that's something you can accomplish here. This is called crocodile pose. It's really what you were just doing on the back. Breath into the belly. However, because we're on the belly, you're pushing the floor away with your inhale. And you're resting your forehead on your forearms. And I'd like to feel that the inhale creates this expansion of the lower back. And then the lower back falls on the exhale. Okay, and that's a sign that your diaphragm is really functioning. This idea of connecting into your really functional breathing with the diaphragm. So take about 5, 6 more rounds of breaths. We're going to use this when we come to sitting. We're going to remember this moment here. Feeling the diaphragm has to push down, and the belly pushes against the floor on your inhale. And that's the feeling of a functional breath. Let's just take 2 more breaths like this. And the breath is smooth and deep and fluid and continuous. Beautiful. Okay, and then I'd like for you to come onto your back and take a few a few minutes just resting on your back. So I invite you into Shavasana. Yeah. And so however you can be comfortable on your back. And I'd like you to get into a place of stillness. Mm-hmm. And as you settle on your back now, truly Shavasana is a beautiful, beautiful pose. It teaches us how to let go. Mm-hmm. So take this moment to let the back body settle into the floor and soften the belly, again, still feeling the resonance of the last pose that you just did. So as you breathe in, the belly moves away from the body. And as you breathe out, the belly moves into the body. But now we're going to shape the breath. So in Shavasana, I'll give you another moment to settle. So loosen your jaw and soften your tongue. Okay, and I'd like you to make the inhale and the exhale now absolutely smooth. We'll take a few rounds of absolute smooth breathing. And please noticing where the breath struggles to be smooth. And just witness it. And by relaxing deeper, feel that you can smooth it out by letting go. Now let go of shaping the breath. And we're going to move our awareness through the body. I'd like you to start at your ankles, and without moving, just tune in and feel how the left ankle and the right ankle feel different from each other. And then use the power of your mind to bring the two into a feeling of balance. Just shaping the energy with the mind, energetically bringing them into balance, even though they are different. Good. Now move to the knees, relax, and simply notice how they're different. And now energetically move them towards balance. Move to the hips. First, just notice, tuning in. And now use the power of your mind to shift the energy, bring them to balance. Now move to the wrists. Notice and shift. Now the elbows. Now both shoulders. Both ears. Now the inner ears. Both eyelids. Eyeballs. Eyebrows. Now, for a moment, be aware of the space between the eyebrows. Feel a presence there, gently touching you. And now just rest. Okay, now remember the breath. Before you move, feel the part of you that is the observer, that is not the body, not the breath, not even the mind, but the witness. Just tune into that eternal part of you. Now, as you're ready, begin to gently deepen your breath, reanimating the body. And then moving your toes and your fingers. And come onto your side. Let's make our way up to sitting. So, yeah, we're going to work with a little bit of pranayama before we do our meditation. And I'm going to take some time to teach it. So get comfortable. And I'd like you to have a tall spine. So whenever we do pranayama, it's really important that you not drop the heart and collapse the belly. So I'll just kind of talk about that while you're getting set up. Because the diaphragm gets caught, it gets stuck when we're in that collapsing seat, which I think we spend a lot of time in. We sit so much. So if you sit up on props, you can get that lift to the heart and lift to the collarbones. And that way there's this freedom for the diaphragm to move down on the inhale and up on the exhale. Beautiful. So finding that tall spine, base of the skull right above the tailbone, collarbones lifted. And let's begin by remembering we were in crocodile on our belly, remembering that diaphragmatic breath. As you breathe in, the belly moves away from the spine. And as you breathe out, the navel moves towards the spine and slightly up. There's a little bit of a lift to it. Inhale, it moves down and out. Exhale, it scoops in and slightly up. And just take some nice full breaths in a relaxed rhythm that helps you find the movement of the diaphragm. It's a little harder to feel when you're sitting than when you're lying on your belly. And now as you continue, I invite you to listen to the sound of your breath. And up high in the throat, towards the top of the nose, you can create just the softest contraction, just that subtle sound, a self-soothing sound that will help you really even out the breath as we work here. Okay, so now eyes open. I'm going to ask you to do a version of alternate nostril breathing. You may already practice this. You may have your hand position you work with. If you don't, just take your index and middle fingers towards the palm. And you'll have the ring finger free and the thumb free. Yeah, they can be loose and comfortable. And now we'll lift the chest and bring your elbow onto your chest. Yeah. So this is our resting position. Very simply now, we're just going to, let me describe it first. We're going to inhale. We're going to use your ring finger to block your left nostril, and we're going to take 3 breaths out and in, just nice and long and smooth through the right nostril. Let me just describe it first. 3 breaths. At the top of the 3rd breath, so my finger's describing that, we'll release the finger and exhale through both nostrils. And we'll pause to reconnect to that diaphragmatic breathing, because I want you to do diaphragmatic breathing the whole time. And then when I tell you, we'll do the other side. We'll inhale first. Then we'll use the thumb to block the right nostril, and we'll exhale and inhale 3 times through the left. And I'm doing it this way so that you can feel the effects of the practice, okay? There's a purpose here. At the top of that 3rd inhale, you'll release the thumb and you'll exhale both. So let's take a moment now, please. Establish your diaphragmatic breathing. And then bend the elbow and prepare the palm, index and middle finger towards the palm, thumb and ring finger free. And now let's breathe in together, and you're going to block the left nostril at the top of your breath. And then just a nice, smooth, deep exhale through the right. Take your time. And as you inhale, feel that you're drinking prana into the brain. And repeat that 2 more times. Be effortless and smooth and steady. Actually, let the breath be quiet here. As quiet and effortless as possible. Last breath. At the top of this breath, just release. Exhale through both nostrils. And as you would just come back to your diaphragmatic breathing, okay, and let's take side 2. Bend the elbow to prepare. Begin with an inhale through both nostrils. Top of your breath, use your thumb to block the right. And now 3 times out and in. Take your time, be smooth and deep and silent. As you inhale, the image is you're drinking the life force deep into the brain. Just 3 breaths. The top of your 3rd inhale, you'll release the thumb. Exhaling through both nostrils and just adjusting. Diaphragmatic breath. We're going to repeat the whole practice, and I would like you to be aware that when you breathe in the right nostril, you stimulate the left brain. When you breathe in the left nostril, you stimulate the right brain, and they're very different from each other. So let's prepare by bending the elbow and breathing in through both. At the top, use your ring finger, block the left, and breathe out right. And then breathing in the right. Deep inhale, drinking the life force into the left brain. And repeat that twice more. Top of the inhale, releasing the thumb, the finger. Exhale through both. And just adjust. And while you adjust now, tune into the midbrain and just sense the change, the energetic shift from doing one side. And now let's take the other side, bend the elbow, prepare. You're going to use the thumb. Breathe in through both nostrils first. Top of the breath, blocking the right. And now smooth exhale. Take your time here. And then smooth, long inhale, stimulating now the right brain. Repeat that 2 more times, like taking a long drink of water. Just drink it in deep and be effortless, be smooth, silent. At the top of this third round, release the thumb and exhale through both. And again, as you adjust to diaphragmatic breathing, tuning in to what has shifted in the midbrain, the energetic landscape of the midbrain, connecting to inner light, inner intelligence, awakening it by creating balance. And we'll take the whole practice one more time. Here we go. Bend the elbow, prepare the hand, inhale through both. You'll use the ring finger, block the left. And as you exhale out the right now, visualize the sun underneath the right nostril. And as you inhale, inhale golden light from the sun into the midbrain. And do that 2 more times. It doesn't require a lot of effort, just a smooth focus and ease. At the top of your third breath, you'll release your finger. You'll exhale through both nostrils. Take your time. And as you adjust, tune into the midbrain, the energy there that you've collected. And here we go on our last round. When you're ready, bend the elbow. You'll use the thumb. Breathe in through both nostrils first. And then blocking the right. And as you exhale out the left, now see a full moon under the left nostril. And on the inhale, drinking in deep blue light, beautiful blue light into the midbrain. And then at the top of your third breath, you release the thumb, exhale through both. Settle the breath, let it adjust. Awareness to the midbrain. Now, as we move into our meditation, drop into an even deeper stillness. Let the body settle to just another level of stillness. The breath will shift, will adjust to a quieter pace. From this deeper stillness now, begin to sense the two lines of breath, two streams moving in the two nostrils together. And feel that they are balanced. Have the intention to create an even flow, steady and smooth. The breath begins 6 to 9 inches below the nostrils. And there's a meeting point, an apex point, somewhere behind the bridge of the nose or the eyebrows or the forehead. You'll feel it within your own head. As the breath flows in and out, let the mind follow the flow, riding the wave. Now relax more deeply, become more effortless. Begin to sense an intelligence behind the breath. The source of the breath is our life force, which is aware of itself. And at some point, allow your awareness to shift from feeling the breath to sensing the wave of the life force. Like if you're standing in the ocean, instead of feeling the water, you feel that wave of power that pushes the water. Tune into that force behind the breath. We call this Prana Shakti, the power of becoming. So out of beingness, we have a desire to become, to unfold and expand. This is our life force. Now at some point, the meeting point of these two streams begins to feel charged. For the next few breaths, be very sensitive to that apex point and feel that each inhale draws you deeper, back and up towards the midbrain. Be effortless. And then when you're ready, let go of following the breath flow and sense this presence now collected and concentrated in the midbrain, a pool of light or presence, vibrant, aware, alive. Rest your awareness there. Now we move into the next phase of our meditation today. So just take this presence in the midbrain and move it up to the crown. Let your awareness just lift onto the crown, just above the crown of the head. And feel there or sense there the full sun in all of its blazing glory. And then again, all of those other forms of light that are derivative of the sun. The lightning, the fire, the moonlight, cool, soothing, the starlight, inspiring. Now all that light mixed together, each with their own power. On an inhale, draw a tiny bead of light through the crown and gently move it down the spine and pause right behind the navel in the spine. And as you exhale, see it transform into a flame. Repeat that. Inhaling another bead of light from above the crown, moving it down the spine. Brief pause to seat it in the belly. And as you exhale, see the flame grow brighter. And now continue with this practice. Just let your awareness follow the image. Once you set the image in motion, there's nothing you need to do but follow. You don't need to make it happen. Just relax and follow. Let the breath be whatever it wants to be as you continue. Eventually, the breath will get slower and slower, and this is a sign of deepening. Remain effortless as you continue. Gradually, that tiny flame in the navel center grows and eventually fills the space between the pubic bone and the solar plexus. Eventually, you fill the belly with a full-on bonfire. You sense this fire now consuming. It's wide at the bottom and pointed towards the top like a triangle. And when this happens, when you're ready, you can let go of the active practice of following breath. And now rest your mind on this blaze in the belly and let yourself become absorbed. You may even hear the crackling and the roar of the fire. You may on some level feel its warmth, its power, its radiance. Let yourself become totally absorbed in this flame filling your belly. We'll stay here for a few more minutes. And I invite you, if you like, to put a stick or a log on your fire in your belly. Something that presents itself out of the shadows of your being. You don't even need to name it. But just that image that you take something that you are unconscious of within you and that you're willing to offer it into the fire and become light. Now, to finish the practice, one final step. At the perfect moment when you're ready, visualize this bonfire turning into a spinning wheel of light with all the colors. A spinning wheel with all the colors now, spinning and spreading light through all layers of the body and all the hidden aspects of the mind and the heart. Every color of light represents your potential. Some of it realized, some of it not. Just absorb it all. Feel the body absorbing it all. Pulsing with colored light. Okay, and we'll come back slowly. When you're ready, take a little deeper breath in. We'll open the palms with an inhale. And bring your hands to your heart. And just take a moment to acknowledge this power you have within you to digest, to assimilate, and to become bright. Namaste. Okay, so as we come back, and I see I have a few minutes left, there's a couple more things I'd like to say about our practice today that I might have said ahead of time. Yeah. So, give you a moment to come back fully. Yeah, that version of alternate nostril breathing that I just taught, I find it really a beautiful way to understand the purpose of alternate nostril breathing. When you do one side alone for a while, it gives you more insight into what that is, and then the other side alone being different. And obviously you can practice that, what we just did. It's very simple. There are other ways to do alternate nostril breathing where you just keep changing sides. That's also beautiful, right? So I do encourage you to consider that practice. And yeah, and if you have questions, feel free to contact me. Yeah. It's weird to not be able to have a dialogue, although I guess I could look at the screen, but we'll do it this way. Then the AgniSaara practice. So I went ahead and did the deeper one with the Uddiyana Bandha, right, with the hands on the knees. Truly, that is a practice for our times. And it is recommended that you do it in the morning before you eat, and that you do it every day, some version of it. And there are elaborate, intense versions, or there's just that gentle version where you're just squeeze and release on the breath. And again, this area is where our unconscious is. And so what we're being called to do right now is to dive down into the unconscious and make some changes, bring some stuff up. Yeah. Put those logs in the fire and see what discernment, what clarity comes out of that. Actually, the practice that we did with the fire, building the fire in the belly, I wanted to say, is a complete practice in and of itself. It's a powerful practice to build your own power and your own sense of self-esteem and positivity. The last image with the multiple colors of light, they don't have to be combined, but they're easy, and it's really juicy to combine them. But that last image speaks more to digestion and assimilation. So we really combined two different practices into one practice today. And so you can bring light down from the crown and just make colored light right away, or you can spend time in that full-on furious blaze, which, you know, it's interesting to feel how much power we do have when we let that be there. The last thing I'll say, this is a little tag ending to today's practice, but it's no less important. I wasn't sure I would have time to fit it in. So to summarize, we need to shape our prana by working with our breath. I feel that's what we're being called to do. And so I'm teaching very simple pranayamas in my classes now because I want all my students to have something that they can do at home. number one, and that's to really train the nervous system to handle what we have to handle. And then number two, working at the navel center to build our digestion, our assimilation, as well as our power. So those are actually separate topics, which we talked about together today, okay? Assimilation and digestion is where we start, and then eventually then we grow our power. And they have some overlap, so we took advantage of that overlap. The last point that I'd like to make, and I can make it very briefly, what we're being called to do right now is service. In whatever way you can fit service into your life, it can be so simple. A simple gesture of calling someone that you know is shut up alone in their home and making that contact. Or something bigger, something you've been thinking about and you've put it off, right? Find a way to make this crisis, this stress, this transition, this opportunity, make it not be all about you. You know, make it be step into the opportunity to see how can I expand? How can I give back? Because you see, it's that the virus is telling us we haven't been taking care of each other. We haven't been acknowledging our interconnectedness. And so it's forcing us to see how interconnected we are. So that's the thought I'd like to leave you with today, that yes, personal practice, do your meditation, get your calm mind, do some pranayama, and shape your nervous system to be able to handle the stress. And then think about, how can I expand myself? Do the practice, do the learning, you know, email me if you have more questions. And then finally, just give something back in any way that you can, little or big. Give something back, because that's what the world needs all of us to do. So again, my gratitude for having me here, and good luck to all of you. I wish you all the best. Hari Om.